Let's turn now to exploring the Shema, discussions on the issues of Trinity. And 2 weeks ago, we finished reading through this quote from Tim Hegg. And so now we're poised to begin to look at a quote from Christian Apologetics and Research Ministry, Matt Slick. But let me just segue by reading the last paragraph from Tim Hegg, which will kind of pull us into tonight's study. So Hegg wrote, and this is 2 weeks ago. Again, if you missed 2 weeks ago, go to my YouTube channel, go to videos, and then click on the latest. I'd say you kind of have to go back, not last week, because last week's study was more kind of an overview, and we kind of took a slight break from the study. Last week's study was kind of unique. Go back 2 weeks ago, which would be episode number 101 over here. If you're looking at my screen right now on my YouTube channel, you'll see it's over on the right side, episode number 101, posted there, and you can watch the live internet studies show there. But Tim Hegg had this to say. Again, we're talking about this idea of Trinity. We're talking about this idea of asking the Bible, is God one? Is God three? And if he's one yet three, how do the scriptures describe him? How do they articulate his oneness and his threeness? The challenge that we're faced with today as modern Bible students, as modern scientists of the word, if I can coin a phrase. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it that way, but we're Bible scientists. We're not. Maybe that sounds too close to Christian scientists, right? Maybe I shouldn't use that phrase. Nevertheless, the point I'm trying to make is that we need to be very thorough in our research of the Bible. And what Tim Hegg reminds us of, and let's just pick up his quote here. Tim Hegg says, if we impose upon the scriptures, all of which were written within the milieu of Hebraic thought, if we impose upon them the requirement to answer questions generated from a Greek ontological perspective, then we will be greatly disappointed. Understand his challenge there. If we as Greek thinkers, and Hegg is really kind of picking on the early church fathers in the first few centuries following after the first century disciples, were penning the words after Paul was circulating his letters, and after the Gospels were already written and being circulated in and around Asia and the Greco-Roman Empire and Middle East and things like that. Very shortly after that, after the apostles died out and the first disciples of the disciples were being raised up, it wasn't too long after that the early church fathers began to pour through the New Testament writings and letters. Of course, they started copying them down and being prepared to be canonized and things like that. But the challenge is that there was a heavy philosophical mindset that was present in the early first few centuries, so much so that pouring through the early church writings, which were written in Greek, we not only examined them through the language of Greek, but we unfortunately examined them through the philosophical mindset of Greco-Roman and Greek thinking and philosophy. And so much so that we began to ask questions of the text that the text couldn't really answer. So we had to fill in words, insert Greek phrases into the text. We didn't really add to the Bible. It's not what I'm really saying. It's that within the creeds that were being formulated in a defense against the heresies that were rising up all around Christianity of the first few centuries, then the early church fathers began to ask, how is it that God is composed? What kind of questions can we throw at the test? And Tim Hegg's trying to say it's not entirely wrong to ask those questions, but we need to be very cautious, because in the end, the text was written by Hebrews as Hebrew thinkers. Even though it was penned in Greek, we still have a worldview from the Hebrews that had a certain style of writing, a certain way of thinking, and it produced a set of manuscripts that is sparse in the way it describes God, and it's very particular in the way it describes God. And so